Influence, like
Inspiration.
inspiration,
Impact.
impact. All right, so what do you think of this quote? Perhaps give us some context for it in the greater scene and exchange of dialogue here. And what do you think of it? Do you agree or disagree? And then what does it reveal about what's important to this character? Take it away. Here we go. You want to stand up and talk about it?
No, never mind.
What's the context for this quote? What's going on here?
Okay, I'll start. So, I thought of it as labels, like that people give you, or like labels that you give yourself. And so I think Roy is talking about how people give him the label of being like this uptight, like full of himself type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But really he's not that type of guy to himself, because that's the type of label that he gave himself. And so I said, I kind of answered the second part of the question with the first one, but I said, I think this quote means you have to set your own labels to yourself instead of listening to what other people are giving you. And I feel like Roy is the type of guy to like not give out his personal information, like his personal life. He doesn't really talk about it anymore. But he's all about business, and so he doesn't want people to feel like change the way. What?
They perceive him.
What?
He doesn't want a label to change the way people perceive him.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
it, but yeah. So.
Agree or disagree, Roy doesn't want labels to change the way people perceive him.
Agree.
Other people, agree or disagree?
Well, knowing the type of person Roy is based on what we've read and what we've watched, seems to me that Roy is like a person who kind of like boasts like his connections, and like I forgot what page it was, but a page where he said that he can make 3 dial like 15 numbers, digits, and he'll be on the phone with Reagan, or even better.
First lady, yeah.
His wife, all that. Oh, but yeah, I was referring to this quote. I think it connects because he's trying to say like what people like identify you as doesn't have to be how you identify yourself. As long as you're able to like develop connections and have power, aka clout. That's what matters.
How people identify you doesn't have to be how you identify yourself.
Absolutely. Quote that, Victor Finch.
I agree with what Victor was saying, because also like in the act when he was talking about with the whole AIDS situation, I mean with
Henry?
No, Joe.
Joe.
With Joe, not the AIDS thing. That's something else. But like when he was talking to Joe, he was talking about like how he was seen by like his father. So like he wanted to like impress him in a way, and he was talking about how the father to son relationship is like something that's important in life. And it shows how Roy like how he wants to be shown in societies.
Yeah, we'll come back to that father-son. That was in Act 2, but we'll come back to the father-son relationship. I think that definitely helps us understand what's important to Roy, this relationship with others, this father-son relationship, his relationship with Joe. Being like a father to Joe seems important to Roy. Why do we think that's important to Roy, being a father to Joe?
Yeah, because he wasn't able to be a father to his own, if he had a child, or if he wasn't able to have a child, so he would like.
Why else might?
It's also because while they were talking, Joe has said he didn't have a really good relationship with his father. So Roy wanted to give Joe someone to look up to and to have a like someone Joe can see. Cause Roy, I'm gonna stop talking.
No, it's okay. Well, how does influence play into their relationship?
Well, he influenced him to go to take the job in Washington. Right.
Yeah, because Roy needs Joe's influence in Washington.
So it's kind of like a mutual relationship. Yes, you know, like they kind of like rub off on each other. But you know, Roy being the like higher figure, like the figure that's more power, almost seems like a fatherly figure to Joe. But Roy also knows that he also needs to show something.
Like with the mutual relationship thing, I think is that like Roy gets compassion from Joe. Like Joe is a really he's less of an uptight person in terms of business matter, and Joe has a really authoritative position at his job. So when Joe's around and they were confiding in each other, I think it was in Act 2. They were confiding in each other. It was the first time that you've ever seen Roy like show his feelings. So it was like weird in a way. So it's like that's what Roy would get from the father-son relationship that they have. But then Joe sees Roy as what society would claim as a father, like authoritative and giving advice. But then again, Roy also has this hidden thing in himself when he's being diagnosed with AIDS. There's also that other thing that comes up. So it's like now Joe might reveal himself because Roy is beginning to reveal himself as well.
But he still says cancer instead of AIDS when he tells.
So it's like
Yeah. It's ironic, right? Because they both have these big secrets that are actually very similar. Did anyone pick Roy as their favorite character or Joe as their favorite character? Tell us about what you wrote.
I said that Roy, as of right now, he's become my favorite character just because at the end of Act 1, like him speaking about labels and not being able to tell someone's whole story by just one word, like gay, lesbian, homosexual, whatever the case might be. So I said that I spoke some truth because oftentimes what we do is like we label people in categories and we only see that label and that's all we see. Like we don't see their family life, their past history and stuff like that. So I don't know, like we have this very limited mindset on how we think of people. So I said Roy touched on that and exposed it.
That's the problem with society now. Because people don't feel like they can be open with people, like they feel like they want to be judged. And that's not really the case. And some people might feel like if they can't open up to their own like families, then how would they be able to open up to people outside of their family and outside of their circle? Like, it's just the way people are both how they show you that they want you to trust them.
We already talked about Roy, like our favorite character. Next month.
He's your favorite. Why?
No, he's not my favorite character. I'll go take him.
Joe?
No.
We'll stay with Joe and Roy for another 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about other characters. Anyone else have Joe or Roy as their favorite character? I have another follow-up question on Roy and labels. Roy's solution to the label issue, he's like, I don't like labels. They shouldn't be used. But what does he do, like, as a solution to that? What does he do?
Like, he's showing people that no matter what these labels are, he's still gonna have that clout and he's still gonna be on top.
Does he really? Do people know that he is gay? Because technically that's his label.
I know, but he was denying it to his doctor.
What label does he wear? Even though he says labels are like, this is what labels mean. What label does he wear and why?
Businessman.
Businessman is one. At the end of page 46, or in page 46, within the part where the quote on your quiz and on this packet came from, he talks about labels doing all the things that we think they do, and like we like what he's saying about labels, but then he says, now to someone who does not understand this, homosexual is what I am because I have sex with men. But really, this is wrong. Homosexuals are not men who sleep with other men. Homosexuals are men who in 15 years of trying cannot pass a pissant anti-discrimination bill through city council. Homosexuals are men who know nobody and who nobody knows, who have zero clout. Does this sound like me, Henry? So he's like, I can't fit in that label because that's not who I am. Instead of redefining that label, like we've seen done since the 80s, like since from the 80s to today, we've seen people take a label and take it and make it something empowering. Like I just heard a radio show this morning about a group of Asian American men who are in a rock band and they want to call themselves the Slants. But they were denied that name by the Trademark Commission because the Trademark Commission said, you can't have that name, it's discriminatory against yourselves. And they're like, no, we want to use it as empowerment. We want to take something that's discriminatory and turn it around. And the government won't approve it. And it's very complicated. But you know, it's kind of like he's taking this label and deciding, well, this is what it means. I don't want to change it, so I'm going to label myself as a heterosexual man who, he says, quote, fucks around with men. Somewhere else. Yes, on page 47. Roy Cohen is a heterosexual man, Henry, who fucks around with guys. So he's labeling himself as heterosexual because that's acceptable in his world. So I don't really agree with how he deals with the label issue. He says some truth about what labels do, but he doesn't deal with it in a way that I think a man of his influence could. Victor.
I kind of wrote about that a little bit in my last page. I say he's like kind of in denial, and like it's like he's like almost in shock that like he just like uses his other like characteristics to like cover up like what like he really is. Like for example, when Harry told him he had AIDS, he's like, no, I have cancer. And like he starts describing, and then after he says that, then he starts describing how like he has connections, he can pull strings. And then when Henry tells him he's like homosexual, he's like, no, that, and he starts describing again like his connection. It's like he's kind of like covering like what he is with like his connections.
And then his doctor's like, ultimately, no matter how many connections you have, this is bad news, you're gonna die. Because this is where we are with this disease. Okay, so other characters, if Roy can still be your favorite character, like he's my favorite character in many ways throughout the whole play, even though he's very complicated and I don't want to give anything away. But so who else is your favorite character? So we can continue to talk about characterization, but flip to the next page. Let's bring up some other characters. Robert.
One of my favorite characters personally is Harper, especially the way she's played. Like, cause as opposed to reading the book, I actually watched the show, and I really like the way like the actor portrays Harper. I mean, it's based upon the lines that she's given, but also just the way that she does it is really like is very interesting. She seems very intriguing because like most of the time when she speaks, it seems like she has like a very blank expression on her face, yet everything she says is so intricate. So it's like very interesting to me.
And her voice stays very monotone all the time.
But it's not like a boring monotone. It's like a
Creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's a very blunt person. I think she doesn't care what comes out her mouth. She's just gonna say it anyway.
Well, I said she's my favorite character because she like knows what problems she has. It seems to me like every other character in the book, they seem to be like in denial. They don't want to like say what problem they have. Like Joe, you know, he doesn't want to tell his mom he's like homosexual. He's like denying it with Harper, and then Roy, and then Lewis and Pryor. But Harper is like the only one that says yes. Like she takes Valium, you know. She's like crazy, but like you know, she like knows what her problem is. That's why she's my favorite character, and she doesn't deny it as much as every other character.
This is something that Joe seems attracted to. Think about the people Joe is attracted to. Harper, who says whatever she's thinking. Roy, who says whatever he's thinking, except for that he fucks around with guys.
That's really straightforward.
He likes straightforward people. Yeah, tell me more about that, Anthony.
He's interested in more in straightforward people who will flat out just say what's on their mind rather than just lie about or just like put it into another way that's gonna make them